Good afternoon. It's January 14th, 2026, and I guess I would categorize today as broad bear channel day with a break. This is not a very strong downtrend. You can see we have pretty strong swings to the upside that go well above the EMA. Um, for instance, I mean, if you look at the percentages, look at the percentages. This correction was 76%, let's say, and then this correction was about, we'll call it 68%. So um in a strong bear trend, you're not going to get deep corrections like that. And you can see when we started coming up short of the trend line on the bottom, that's what uh led to a break, or that's we eventually got a break after that. So let's take a look. You're going to want to look at shorter term price action for entries. Again, I'm looking at the 2700 tick chart today. Um, so what you have here, starting here, I'm not going to look at any of this. This is the overnight and into like 6 o'clock and the opening. This is just a range. So you don't know what's going on. So I recommend staying out of that. Then we break out. The breakout fails, which can be expected. So do I recommend going long here? I do not, even though it's far from the EMA and it's a first time breakout of a range. Um, I just don't. You have three strong bear bars closing consecutively. I mean, look, if you hit the measured move, I mean, it's okay risk reward. So I guess you could take that, but it's a little risky. So anyway, we create this move. We get it fails. It goes beyond 50%, comes back, pulls back, and I would say if you want to bet that we test this level of support before we go higher, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. Or that the bulls who bought at 50% were going to fail, 50% correction. If you're betting that they're going to fail, I don't think that's a bad entry. But notice that we do have a gap above the EMA now. So after that, we get two legs down. Uh, we go further down, you get a pullback. And this is a failed second entry long right here off the EMA. I just don't like that you're going into the lows after our first gap up. But you could consider that. Turns out to eventually be a good move. And then look at this sell climax. This is a textbook sell climax. This is the biggest bar um, since here. And so how many? Biggest bar in 60 bars. So, especially when you see this bull bar right after it, it didn't tick higher, but, I think it's clear signal that the bears are exhausted, and then you get an inside bar. So now what we have, what's called an II. Um, and that sometimes results in a final flag. And you can see we had one more push down. And this is on a small scale. We have one more push down and then we reverse. Sometimes you might get, you know, a whole second leg just like this and then it'll reverse. And sometimes it doesn't reverse at all. But that's an II. So this bar is inside this bar and this bar is inside this bar. So you can see it slows down before going higher. And then we go up to resistance. You don't want to take failures up here, even though that's like a short-term bear channel right there. You get the uh, uh, breakout to the low side. And I guess let me talk about why you wouldn't go long here. Well, this confirms that there's resistance there. And I think that's really it. Even though it bounces off the EMA and that's a second entry long and that's max textbook entry, you know, you're going into resistance. So sell off, pull back to the EMA. Um, some people are betting on this being a higher low. So if you think they're wrong, you could argue for going short here, but I'm not. I don't want to mark that because we have a gap above the EMA at the start of the day and then a large gap above the EMA here. So not crazy about it. Um, I think it's reasonable to consider getting long here. I can't really think through why I would do it other than it being a double bottom high or low. Uh, but I think it's reasonable just because the risk reward. You get a failed second entry long right here. We find support at the bottom of the channel again, pulls back to the EMA, really just going sideways here. You can see that range. And then we break out, we get a pullback, and it launches up. And I like that. I like this entry because, you have these people thinking that this is a bear trend, um, and they're all getting short when really we're just in the middle of the channel. So, you could argue that this is not a good trade because we're in the middle of the channel, but if you think we're going to test resistance again, it's a good trade and works out in your favor pretty quickly. We find resistance, boom, lower high. On some time frame, this is going to be a failure because you get this stalling here. That's like the first attempt to go higher. Boom, that fails. Comes down here, and then we're in a range. And you can see this bull channel here. I think it's probably best to just sit tight. And then we just get this rocket here. So now you want to draw your trend line. And I just don't really see a whole lot of, I like this one. And so think about how this one compares to the second entry we saw earlier. So this is off the trend line, perfectly off the trend line. This second entry is not off of a trend line. Uh, it's off a trend line in a bear trend. So you don't want that. And we already really had the bull move. And it was really like a parabolic bull move. So reasonable to expect exhaustion. Whereas here we continue to find support. And that's a higher low, nice bull bar. So anyway, that's how I saw it today. Here's the daily chart. So big tail down here. The macro environment, they're trying to do whatever they can to send this thing higher. We'll have to see if that works. We're halfway through the month, so might as well take a look at this. Yeah, I just think we're going to go. My opinion is that we're going to go sideways to down for all of 2026, but no one knows. We'll just have to wait and see. Hope everyone had a good day. I'll be back tomorrow.